describe just how excited and humbled I am to receive this honor. In fact, I definitely experienced both of those emotions this morning when I said to my wife, Carol, honey, in your wildest of dreams, could you ever have imagined that I'd be honored with the medal given in honor of our patron saint? Well, my excitement was certainly given a jolt, and I was most definitely humbled when my wife replied, my dear, I'm sorry to have to admit this, but after 26 years of marriage, you no longer appear in my wildest of dreams. Notwithstanding my wife's admission, dreaming wild is exactly what I want each of you to do. And as I go about sharing my wild dream, I'm going to attempt to do three things. First, prove that deMatha is the best. Second, illustrate that we can become even better by playing the game of tag. Third, issue a challenge that deMatha students previously have been asked to accept. The title of my wild dream is Making the Best Even Better. The reason why I have chosen that specific caption for this dream is because when I think of deMatha, the first two words that always pop in my head are best and better. In fact, those two words were emphasized at the very beginning of the very first class I ever attended at deMatha in the fall of 1976. My freshman homeroom teacher was Perry Clark, who was an alum who later went on to become the head basketball coach at Miami and Tulane, and is currently coaching at the University of South Carolina. I'll never forget the poem that Mr. Clark said to our homeroom on the very first day of our freshman year. Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Until the good get better, better than the best. During the late 1970s, when I was a student at deMatha, I was fortunate to have learned from, played for, and otherwise witnessed countless examples of those who were indeed better than the best. For example, I truly believe that John Moylan was the single greatest principal in the United States. Morgan Wooten was unequivocally the best high school basketball coach of all time. John Mitchell was unequivocally the best high school music director in the world. Buck Offit was the country's best high school English teacher, and Ray Smith was both the best and certainly most colorful math teacher. By the way, for my friends who traveled down from Baltimore, thank you very much. I'm most honored by that. Those five legends were affiliated with deMatha for an astonishing combined total of approximately 250 years. Other examples of why deMatha is better than the best may be found in the following group of dedicated individuals who were members of the deMatha family when I was a student approximately 35 years ago and are still among the best at what they do. Dan McMahon, who graduated just a couple years ahead of me, might have done the unimaginable, as he may possibly be an even better principal than Mr. Moylan. I know that's impossible to believe. Similar accolades from Joe Carroll, who taught me English both my junior and senior years, and I've always felt was as deserving as Buck Offit as for the title of Best High School English Teacher. Dick Messier is still the best wrestling coach in the country. Ethan Ballinger is still the best librarian. Mr. T, Rich Majeski, Tom Burke. Those three were there when I was here, and they're still here, and that's the reason why for the past 5 decades, the single best educational department of any high school in America is deMatha's Social Studies Department. Tom Ponton, who also graduated just a couple years ago, is the best at keeping the alumni connected with one another. Among the dozens of friends of deMatha, many are here today, who've donated countless hours of their time and service to our community, the best volunteer of all time is my buddy Vince Scout. And on the lighter side, Father James, you continue to have not only the best, but the most perfectly coiffed head of hair. And Father Damien continues to have the best and deepest voice. Speaking of the lighter side, I've always been a big fan of nicknames. One of the best nicknames which I've heard among the ranks of the current student body are Deontay Juice Holden and John Sunshine Lover. However, I believe that the following members of the class 1980 had even better nicknames. We had Mike Felix Unger Hibbs, Chris Cricky Dunn, Daryl Money Green, Ricky the Incredible Hulk Gray, Doug the Universal Gigolo Fields, Kenny Choo Choo Rue Rodriguez Ruback, and even yours truly, Barney Fife. If deMatha Catholic High School is, as I hope to prove in just a moment, the best high school, the question which each of us needs to ask ourselves is, how do we make the best even better? But before I give the answer to that question, which I learned during my time as a deMatha stag, I'd like to do something that I know you students don't like. I'm going to give it a world quiz to prove that deMatha is the best high school in America, if not the world. All right, so here's the deal. At the end of each question, I'm going to make the following gesture. And when I do that, shout out the answer. I know you're going to get these answers. All right, here we go. Question 1. Which is the only high school in America whose pursuit of excellence in the arts has been demonstrated by the following facts? A. It has 5 concert bands, 3 choruses, 3 percussion ensembles, 3 string orchestras, 6 levels of music theory, 2 jazz ensembles, a pep band, a gospel choir, and a cast of players who perform Broadway quality plays. And B, its music program is so ridiculously good that since 1970, over 1,000 of its student musicians have earned all state honors. Its wind ensemble has never received less than a superior rating, and after being named the country's most outstanding high school band for the 18th time, it was asked a decade ago by the National College Band Association to stop applying for that national honor. And the answer is... Question number 2. Which is the only high school in the world whose pursuit of excellence in athletics has been demonstrated by the following facts? Over 350 of its football players and over 150 of its basketball players have earned college scholarships. Its soccer team has had 2 separate winning streaks of 67 and 44 consecutive matches in just the past 10 years. It's the only high school in the world to have had 2 of its alumni play on the same Olympic gold medal basketball team and 3 separate alums won the NCAA Basketball Player of the Year award. Since 1970, it's won approximately 200 league titles in 14 different sports and been ranked number 1 in the country in 3 of those sports. It's the only high school in the world to have produced alumni who were National Football League Pro Bowlers, NBA All-Stars, Major League Baseball All-Stars, an Olympic gold medalist in track and field, and the all-time leading scorer in the history of Major League Lacrosse. And finally, it's the only high school in America that's had 2 different coaches inducted into their respective sports as National Halls of Fame, and had coaches in 4 different sports earn National Coach of the Year honors. And the answer is... Question number 3. Which high school's pursuit of excellence in academics has been demonstrated by the following facts? Its mock trial team has won the state championship and multiple district championships. In 2013, its graduating class was offered over $16 million in scholarships, which equates to approximately $86,000 per graduate. And finally, it's the only high school to have had 2 of its principals and 4 of its teachers receive the Washington Post Educator of the Year award. And the answer is... Question 4. Which high school's dedication to community and service has been demonstrated by the following facts? Several of its students volunteer as big brothers to numerous impressionable and needy youngsters, and one of its alums built an orphanage last year in the African nation of Zambia. Its students recently participated in out-of-state service projects at the Romero Center in Camden, New Jersey, and the Guadalupe Center in Victoria, Texas. And finally, its students will perform in the aggregate something like 16,000 hours of community service this year. And the answer is... All right, 5th and final question. Which high school's dedication to faith has been demonstrated by the following facts? Among its co-curriculum activities is a vibrant campus ministry organization. It's quite possibly the only college preparatory high school in America to have 8 current alumni and 3 former faculty members members studied to be priests. And lastly, whenever anyone invokes the name of its patron saint, everyone who hears such invocation replies, "Pray for us." And the answer is? Alright, so now we've proved that deMatha is the best. The quintessential question which must be asked is, how do we make it even better? What I first learned from my mom and dad, and then relearned during my years at deMatha, is that the answer to that question can be found in the game of tag. But instead of playing a childhood game which involves running around and trying to tag your fellow competitors to make them hit, the real game of TAG stands for talents and gifts. In other words, the key to bringing to fruition our wild dream of making the best high school in the world even better is for each and every member of the deMatha community to become it by utilizing to the fullest our unique and respective sets of talents and gifts. So, if your town presidents like Tony, Mary Garish, Vaughn Holsey, Rick Reeves, or another member of deMatha's remarkable faculty, which talents and gifts do you need to utilize to make your students even better? Or, if you're Joe Graham, Chris Gelatek, Dale Matthews, Corey Henson, Justin Morris, Daryl Haraway, Matt Burke, Brady Thompson, Brandon Laughlin, or another one of deMatha's exceptional athletes, which talents and gifts do you need to utilize to make the best athletic department in the world even better? Or, if you're Chad Lilly, Stone Butler, or another one of deMatha's extraordinary musicians or singers, which talents and gifts do you need to utilize to make the single best high school music program in the world even better? Finally, which talents and gifts do Jamar Nash, Robert Bailey, Kyle O'Neill, and the rest of the young men wearing red and blue blazers in the audience today need to utilize to become even better community service providers than my dear friend and fellow point guard, Pat Smith, who is, in my opinion, one of the best examples of what it means to give back to the school and community? That question had been posed to me when I was a student back in the 1970s. I probably would have replied that my best talents and gifts were leadership, enthusiasm, positive attitude, goal setting, competitiveness, and mental toughness. For example, ever since I was a little kid, my number one goal was to earn a college scholarship in basketball. So, ask yourself, if you were 6'2", believe it or not, 145 pounds, often referred to as the poster child for scurvy and malnutrition, who was a below-average shooter and could not even jump high enough to barely touch the rim, how would you go about realizing your dream of becoming a Division I college basketball player? The answer, of course, is you got to play the game of tag. For me, that meant I had to utilize my various athletic and academic talents and gifts in order to achieve that goal. But first, it meant I had to enroll at deMatha, because I knew that the best chance I had at earning a college scholarship was if I could somehow make the deMatha varsity basketball team and graduate with high academic honors from the best academic school in the Washington area. As an aside, it also meant I had to promise to my parents that if they paid me, get this, $850 per year tuition, they would not have to pay a penny for my college education. And to my dear mother, thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing me to travel all the way from Silver Spring to attend school at deMatha High School. I'm very proud of the fact that I gave everything I had to the game of tag during my 4 years at deMatha. Not only did I work extremely hard in the classroom, perform community service with the Special Olympics and other organizations, established one of the first high school chapters of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and played on both the varsity golf and softball teams during my freshman and sophomore years, I was extremely fortunate and most blessed to have been deMatha's starting point guard, team captain, and MVP of the varsity basketball team my senior year. As a direct consequence of having utilized my talents and gifts to the fullest, I was able to achieve my primary goal and satisfy the promise which I made to my parents by earning a full scholarship to the University of Richmond. And for that, I will forever be grateful to my mom, my dad, and deMatha Catholic High School. As we all know, in order for something to be a gift, it must be given to you. A talent, on the other hand, is a gift that is given by God. Therefore, our unique individual talents talents are the most precious gifts of all and must not be wasted. Someone recently asked me why. After 39 years of coaching, I still volunteer my time to coach a 6th grade basketball team at our community's rec council. And why, after over 30 years of teaching, I still volunteer as a liturgy of the word minister at our church. The answer to that question is easy. Because coaching and teaching are among the talents that God blessed me with, and it would be a sin if I wasted those gifts. So, regardless of whether your talents and gifts include being one who's dedicated more to faith, community, or service, being one who's more focused on the pursuit of excellence in academics, arts, or athletics, being an inspirational leader or a loyal follower, being a gifted speaker or a sage listener, being a player or a manager, being a musician or a singer, being a gentleman or a scholar. Just be it. And as one of the greatest lessons I was most fortunate to learn from my father during his way too brief lifetime, be it in a way that maximizes your ability to know, love, and serve the Lord our God, the entire deMatha community, and all of mankind. You know, Tuesday will mark the 800th anniversary of the death of St. John deMatha. Just as our patron saint challenged St. Felix of Valois and other members of the Order of the Holy Trinity to utilize their God-given talents to free Christians who had been enslaved by the wars, I hereby challenge my fellow alumni, deMatha's faculty and staff, the coaches, the leaders of the music program, the club and organization monitors, and most especially the gentlemen and scholars of the classes of 2014, 15, 16, and 17 to use your God-given gifts and talents to the absolute fullest to make the best high school in the world, as well as each and every one of us, even better. That same challenge was stated much more eloquently to my brother Tim, who was an All-American and undoubtedly the best swimmer in the history of deMatha, and his class of 1982 during their graduation ceremony by that year's guest speaker, Joe Paterno. I'll never forget how the legendary Penn State football coach challenged those of us in the audience at that ceremony to become even better. In fact, Joe Paterno beautifully summed up my wild dream when he said, and I quote, "Today, you're either going to get better or you're going to get worse, but you're not going to be the same. So, which is it going to be?" My fellow stags, indeed, to prevent our wild dream from turning into a nightmare, which of your talents and gifts are you going to utilize today to ensure that the best become even better? St. John deMatha.